I believe the world has taken a different shift, especially after the COVID-19 pandemic, because this was one of the times when we got to see that the world could actually go on lockdown. I don't think this was ever possible for me before then, but we got to see that it was very possible for something to cause that much harm. And this made us realize that we don't have proper systems in place to adequately respond to certain crises. We also haven't made meaningful interactions and connections with people, so much so that the world could not shut us out from each other. And we also got to see that we have bigger problems to face and we need solutions to come together. Now, these solutions do not lie in one person. They lie in individuals, corporations, stakeholders coming together, meeting and speaking and discussing these issues critically while coming up with solutions. This would not be possible if we do not meet and convene and talk. A simple conversation is what stopped World War II, World War I, and so many other wars. And so, how much more can this conversation actually cause and foster development in its own way and its own right? So it's very important that we come together because we need solutions, we need ideas, we need people to come and tell us what's actually on the ground so we can work towards that. We also need to understand who exactly is doing what, because minus meeting we would never understand who the other players in this development are, and with meeting and collaborating we get to know how they work, we get to know how to interact with them, we get to know what they can bring to the table and what we can bring to the table. That is what partnership is. You have to come together for a common goal. So meeting together and convening largely allows us to come up with solutions that we may not have as individuals, but it also allows us to understand the other individuals that are in this big puzzle that we're trying to solve. Flipping the script is a concept that we have all seen because we know what the idea is, right? We know what world we want to live in. We know what the SDGs say. We know how much better the world can be. But if we don't start acting out on all these ideas that we have, then it will be a huge problem. Flipping the script basically says, look, currently this is the situation in society. People have lost hope. People are afraid. People are in poverty. People are sick. People are this. People at that, but we need to change the narrative. And so when we come together and flip the script, I cannot flip the script alone. It doesn't work like that. We have different partners that have to come together and make it work and flip it from poverty to people being fed, from sickness to people being healthy. And that has different actors at play. It has politicians, it has people such as myself, students, young people, it has got people in media, it has got people in different spheres of society and influence. So when we come together and collaborate and flip the script, that is the only way that we can change the narrative on the ground. And that is what flipping the script is. It is knowing that this is where we are, this is where we want to be, and these are the actors that are going to change the narrative and take us to where we want to be. And so minus convening, these actors will not be able to play their role. So that is why each and every one of us has a role to play in flipping the script and changing the narrative and making the world the place that we envision. One thing that young people can do is they need to realize just how dire the situation is. The world is in a crisis, and if we don't acknowledge that, we'll not work towards it. And I believe that's something that young people are doing, but we need more young people on board with this. We need the real image of what's happening in the world. And then as young people, we need to find our place in society to deal with these issues. So if you decide you want to be in a political space, you believe that you could be a great leader and lead people towards triumph, take up that political position. If you believe that you would work better on the streets as an activist or an advocate in people's offices, telling them to change laws and policies, take up that. If you believe that you could be an entrepreneur that could make money and you could finance humanitarian work, do your part. You need the real picture and then find your place in society as a young person to act towards it. Generally, what young people also need to do is invest in their education. Take your education seriously because that is the key that we all need for this solution situations and the challenges that we're facing, then you also just need to take up your position and role as a partner in this. Don't view yourself as a beneficiary. We have too many young people that are always depending on what the government would do, what my mom would do. We have to change the narrative because we have to know what we can do ourselves. So take interest in political spaces, take interest in social spaces, take interest in economic issues, media issues, whatever is happening, take interest, because you need to step in as a young person and ask, what can I do? But don't end on the question. Actually get that thing done once you get the answer. One of the things that I am doing personally as Natasha Mwansa is, as a health activist and advocate, I am always looking through different policies and laws that can help. For instance, ensure that we have more people that are accessing health without any challenges, or ensure that their health services being provided to young people. For instance, in sexual reproductive health, we have very few youth-friendly corners that are being serviced in the way that they're supposed to be, and yet the money or the documents are telling us that money is being pumped into it. So as a social accountability monitor, what I'm doing is ensuring that what's on this paper should become reality. And so that's how I'm flipping the script in my own way, and I believe that's the whole idea. It is filling in the gap between what isn't and what is supposed to be, and you make that happen. So that's one of the ways that I'm doing it, engaging with policymakers, engaging with students themselves, because that's the whole idea with partnership. You don't just go to the upper level of people that can change things, you also go to people that need those things changed. And so being the bridge between the two is very important, and that's something that I'm doing in my home country. Young people spend most of their time in school, and that is what's preparing us for the future. And so if we look at the education sector and ensure that it holistically caters for all our needs to become the flippers of this script, then we're going to be looking forward to a brighter and better future and world, really. So I'm working towards transforming education, working with different partners in different organizations, in government spaces, young people themselves, individuals in communities, and just working towards making this better. With the foundation I run, we have young people that take over these spaces. We involve them in political issues, developmental issues, social issues, health, education, and climate change. So with having young people on board and working with them, we see them as partners as well, but for the organization itself, it is highly invested and focuses on young people. Partnership is key, and what we all need to learn to do is target different individuals and make it work, because minus being able to connect with people, we will not be able to make progress for people and even just for ourselves. So that's really in a nutshell what I am doing, and working towards ensuring that every young person can be a voice, a light, and a solution in their own way. Thank you.